Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Jacobs. This is Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio. It's November 16th, a week before Thanksgiving. Actually, a week and a day before Thanksgiving, but have a good one. Okay, and it's snowing here in Maine. I talked to somebody in Vermont earlier. It's snowing there, too, but it's not going to last. All right, it looks like it's going to be a brown Thanksgiving, like the turkey, as opposed to a white one, but at any rate, we have a wonderful show for you today. A new favorite guest is returning. That's Dr. Molly Ness. And Molly's amazing. I usually don't read the full autobiography of somebody. I just want to read this. Molly's a former classroom teacher, reading researcher, teacher educator, doctorate in reading from the University of Virginia. 16 years as an associate professor at Fordham University. She's the author of 4 books, numerous peer-reviewed articles. She began in 2019, because she's so concerned about reading and literacy, the End Book Deserts podcast to bring attention to the issue of book access and equity, which obviously we're the Consortium for Equity in Education. Molly serves on the board of directors. I'm not done yet. The board of directors for the International Literacy Association, ILA, and she's on the elementary advisory panel for Penguin Random House Books. Okay. In 2022, she joined up with my good friends Learning Ally as vice president of academic content. Okay, and in their spare time, she also runs the Coalition for Literacy Equity. And today we're going to be talking not about Learning Ally, but about book deserts, why they matter, all that sort of thing, and also her Coalition for Literacy Equity. We're going to archive this show at ace-ed.org. And our website is special this week. We just announced the winners of our 2022 Equity Awards in Pre-K-12 contest, educators and companies, a big list. Go over there, click on the awards icon over at ace-ed.org. You'll see all the winners. You probably may even know a few of them from all over the country, schools, companies, et cetera, et cetera. And also, please, we're going to archive this podcast there. We have the link to teacher-retention.com as well as SELtoday.org, and the brand new issue of our magazine, our online journal, Equity and Access, is up on site. You'll see the cover there. Just click on it. You can read the magazine. Okay, so go over, check it all out over at ace-ed.org. There's a lot doing this week, especially right now with Molly. Molly, can you hear me?
I can.
Hi there. How are you, Larry?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. Good to hear your voice. And before I forget, happy Thanksgiving, though it's 8 days away.
You too.
Thank you very much. Okay. And how are you? What's going on? Where are you today?
I am actually back home in between conferences. Last week I was at the International Dyslexia Association and got a lot of learning done there. And so I'm wrapping up writing what I guess will be book number 5. And
what's that going to be called? Not The Godfather Part 5?
It does not yet have a title, but it is all about ways to help K through 8 teachers plan their read-alouds across content areas, because the research shows that 50% of teachers don't plan their read-alouds. So we're going to dive into the science behind read-alouds, how they improve students' academic, socio-emotional, even physiological states, and make it something that's practical for teachers to take into their classrooms and apply K through 8.
I think that's wonderful, and we're going to stay in touch on that. You know that I'm always here to help you. Okay. I forgot to mention, with the magazine, you won one of our awards. If I'm not, did you win one of our awards? I think you did.
I did. That's so kind of you.
Thank you so
much.
I can't believe it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. All right.
Very kind of you.
That is it. And by the way, I had nothing to do with that. We had independent judges. They wouldn't even tell me who the judges are. I would have voted for you all the way down the line.
Well, okay. I appreciate that. I will have to gloat to my teenage daughter, who thinks I am super uncool now that I'm an award winner.
No, you're incredibly cool. You're incredibly cool. Okay, and she thinks I'm ultra uncool. Okay, so I'm ultra. You're just uncool. I'm ultra uncool, but you're very cool. And I've got to ask you something, which I was reading over at Dr. Molly Ness.com, your website. Okay, and University of Virginia.
Yep.
Okay, you have a doctor from there, and I just have to ask you this before we get into this other stuff. You served there as the director of the McGuffey Reading Center. And when I read the word McGuffey, does that have really something to do with the real McGuffey?
Yes, it was named in honor of the McGuffey Readers, which were some of the first kind of core basal programs. And I have very fond memories of my time at UVA. One of my beloved professors, the first thing she made us do in our doctoral class was walk to the university cemetery where McGuffey was buried, and we had to have a moment reflecting on his contributions to the field. And it was probably the richest professional experience of my life, running that clinic, which worked with struggling readers and then the graduate teachers who were becoming reading clinicians.
That's saying something, because you've done a lot of great stuff. So for that to be one of the shining stars of all the things you've done is incredible. And I didn't know that McGuffey was associated with the University of Virginia.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yep.
I saw that, and I just had to ask. It's amazing. And by the way, condolences to UVA this week. They had a bad shooting there.
They
the
did, and
players. It's just horrible. And I have nothing to do. Yeah, go ahead, man.
If you've been to UVA or Charlottesville, you know it's a place that your body may leave, but your heart and spirit never do. And I've been thinking of my friends and family and former classmates and professors, and wishing that we were not in this situation again where we're having to talk about gun violence.
Yeah, and especially, and I have to say this, since we're on the subject, Charlottesville's such a nice place. It really is, and they went through that, 7 years ago with that crazy march they had with those neo-Nazis of all the places in the world for that to happen. Okay, and then they have this, and the whole campus is so sad. But I read and listened to the coach yesterday who lost the 3 football players, and everybody lost them, but it just was heart-wrenching. He just has to go through this as they all do. It's just terrible. So I'm sorry.
Terrible.
You're lucky you're with such a great place, and I'm sorry that happened there, all that stuff. It doesn't deserve it, that's for sure. So let's move on, okay? And again, you're also associated now. I love the way I said this. All the things you do, you're VP over at Learning Ally. You've got the Book Desert podcast. We're going to talk about that. And then you are also the founder, president, chairperson, whatever, executive director of the Coalition for Literacy Equity, right?
Yep.
That's you? Talk
that is
about
us.
it.
Yep, that is
Tell
me.
us, get people involved. Let's make this happen.
Yeah. So the Coalition of Literacy Equity was founded as a nonprofit to make sure that all children have access to books and to reading culture. So what we are trying to do is bring together all of the literacy advocates from many different fields and spaces. So book donation programs, after-school reading programs, school libraries, publishers, reading researchers, nonprofits that work around literacy, like Reach Out and Read. We're trying to bring them all together in one sort of overarching organization for collaboration, for the ability to have a strength in numbers and move the needle forward in terms of representation. And we promote lifelong learning and lifelong literacy through advocacy, research, programming, collaboration. So we started, I guess, about a year and a half ago. We host an annual conference that has happened in August virtually, which is a time for people to connect. When I started this End Book Deserts podcast, I was connecting with all of these people and programs, everyone from grassroots organizations to huge organizations, and people were saying, I kind of work in a silo. There isn't a professional home or an organization for me to join or connect with, but I want to know what other people that have similar goals and have similar projects are doing. I want to collaborate with them. I want to learn more. And so I thought, well, let's bring them together first in these virtual conferences, and then second in this coalition. And what we know from the research is that in one city, there was a fabulous article in AERJ, I believe it was 2020, and it was written by Susan Newman, who is sort of the guru of all of the book access work. She looked at the city of Philadelphia, which
my
has...
hometown, Molly. My hometown. I went all through Philadelphia public schools.
Fabulous town, great place to be, great food, great culture, but significant literacy challenges.
Oh, yeah.
And what she did was she looked at 90 different programs across the city who were all a part of this Read by Fourth Grade umbrella network. And what they did is they used sort of geographic tracking to find out these book donation programs, where resources were going, how much was spent. And what they found across 1 year, $1.5 million of books were given. I think it ended up being about 900,000 titles. I may be wrong on that number. But more importantly, they found that books went more to kids living in borderline poverty conditions than kids living in low poverty. And the big takeaway was that all of these programs are sort of operating in isolation or in schools where they're either redoubling their efforts or not being as efficient as possible. And so the idea here is that we, as we grow and scale our work, we need to be coming together for the greater purpose and making sure that our efforts are going where we intend them to go, and trying to get a larger platform so that we can advocate for policy and media attention and things like that. So anybody can become involved. The website is. Yep, anybody can become involved. It's the website is Lit Equity, LIT, and then equity.com. And we have all sorts of programming events. We meet kind of for casual, informal, we call them think tanks, which are once a month. We have somebody who talks about their work, and then it's sort of the equivalent of a virtual coffee talk where we connect and share resources and ideas. We twice a year have a book club. Last spring we read the book Change by sociologist Damon Santola, who talked
Everybody
about...
has to have a book club these days.
Yep. We're having a winter, might be late winter, early spring 2023 book club where we're going to read Parent Nation by Dana Susskind, and the author is going to be joining us. And our hope is eventually to have funding so that we become kind of a clearinghouse of research and policy so that people who are trying to grow their efforts can come to us for funding. We can be more purposeful with research efforts and keep the work going forward. And unfortunately, we're not there yet with funding. This is sort of my side gig in addition to my many other hats. It's my passion project.
In your spare time,
Yep. So I have not mastered the fundraising, the event planning, the social networking kind of stuff that goes into a nonprofit, but have a lot of conviction and a lot of passion for it. So we'll get there eventually.
I can hear it in your voice. I have to ask. By the way, I'm going to introduce you to my wife. My wife works at WGBH in Boston in the education department. Okay, and she's their teacher liaison there to all the stuff that public broadcasting does for educators. And she's a former reading teacher and ESL teacher. And I mentioned you to her just before I came on air, and she said, "Oh, please introduce me, please."
Fabulous.
Okay, so she's got a good connection into WGBH and PBS Learning Media and all that. That's what she does all day, okay?
Fabulous.
So I'm going to introduce you guys, okay? That's a good outlet right there, okay? And also, by the way, I should mention Molly has an article in our latest issue of Equity and Access, a beautiful article, okay? And I hope you do read that again. It's on site at ace-ed.org. Just click on the cover of the magazine. You'll see Molly's article in there, okay? And I wanted to ask you, are you working at all with a company called Benetech or Bookshare?
I am not. I'm not familiar with them.
Well, you will be by the end of the day. This is a wonderful company. I worked with them for years. They're a nonprofit that's based in Benetech. Any of this ringing a bell? They're based out in California, and they give access to people who need it, not necessarily poverty, okay, but all the things like site difficulties, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
They're a fabulous organization. They're going to love you.
Great.
Okay, you're going to love them. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I introduce you to Joel over there today. Okay,
fabulous.
So that you guys can get together. She's great. They're great. They're just great. Okay, so Benetech Bookshare. I'll introduce you later, and everybody should go over there and check it out. They have every book you've ever heard of in the world available to you. available to you. Okay, it's absolutely unbelievable. It's free. So we're going to get that together. Okay, and you want, our listeners are mostly K-12 educators. Okay, you want them involved in this, right, Molly?
I do, and I want them. Yeah, I want them involved. I want their voices. I want their innovative ways of how they are making sure that their kids in their classrooms have access to books when school closes. I want to hear how they are embracing and creating and fostering reading culture. It's not just about having access to books, but also having ways for kids and communities to really embrace reading culture. So I definitely want to hear them.
Good. And you're working with, obviously, AASL. I assume you know those folks.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay, they're great. You know Sylvia?
I don't, but I will.
Sylvia's the executive director, okay?
Well, I'm not connected with her yet, but we'll do.
Well, you will be by the end of today. I can promise you that, okay?
Fabulous.
All right, I'm happy to do that because you're talking about including my wife, and they're going to love what you're doing. I mean, you are a powerhouse out there. I got to tell you, Molly. Okay,
well,
you are
thank
cool.
You.
Your daughter thinks you're not cool.
No,
cool.
She's the word that kids today, teenagers are using is cringy. So everything I do is very cringy.
Really?
Yep. We've entered that phase.
Wear her bag over your head
parenting.
And drop her off at the mall, and you'll be a good mom. That's all there is to it.
Well, I have a T-shirt that I wear in the house that says "Weird moms build character." So she really likes when I wear that to pick her up at sports practice. And I figure if I'm going to be cringy, I might as well. I got to embrace it.
Yeah, you got to embrace. They're so funny. They are so funny, teenage girls. Oh my God, they're hysterical. All right, we have boys. Okay, so I know, but believe me, I know the pain of teenage girls.
Yep.
Hysterical. Okay. Anyway, this is great. I really congratulate you for getting all this together. It's again the Coalition for Literacy Equity, and it's at LIT Equity, one word, litequity.com. Go over there, check it out. And also, I'll say it again, Dr. Molly Ness, Molly Ness, okay, .com. Any relation to Elliot, by the way?
I get that question all the time.
I'm sure you do, yes.
Nope, no. And when I was a kid, I was called Loch Ness Monster, all of those things, but no relation.
Wish I had thought of it. I'm sorry. I didn't. I just thought of Elliot. That's okay. That's great. Okay. You didn't name your daughter. My son's name is Elliot. I just realized that, Elliot.
Yeah.
And you didn't name your daughter Locke. So
correct.
It's not Loch Ness, which would be a terrible thing to do. Okay. I want to talk about book deserts and End Book Deserts, your podcast. Talk about that. What's coming up on the agenda? What have you talked about, and where are we on all that? And it has to do with your Coalition for Literacy Equity. Speak out, Dr. Ness.
The End Book Deserts podcast started, I guess, about 2 years ago when I read the staggering research that 32 million American kids lack access to books in their homes, schools, or communities. And I still can't wrap my head around that number. When we're talking about something that is as portable as books, there's no expiration date, it doesn't involve, human knowledge, but kids not having access to reading materials. So I started the podcast first to just raise awareness to that, and then secondly to shine the spotlight on the people and programs who are working all across the country to get books to kids. And when I think about a book desert, I think obviously about kids living in under-resourced areas, but I often think about kids who live in populations that are underserved. So some of the programs that I've featured give books to kids living in the foster care system, or there's fabulous programs that provide read-alouds, video read-alouds, and an accompanying text to kids whose parents are deployed overseas. And there's similar programs with kids who their parents are incarcerated. So I've been doing all these episodes to highlight the people and programs that are doing it. There's everybody from, one woman who's taken a school bus and drives into her community in the summer all the way up to professional athletes, I had Christy Yamaguchi, Olympic ice skater,
Sure.
Malcolm Mitchell, Super Bowl winner. It has been super fun to see all the people who are working in such innovative ways. And so the podcast now, we obviously during COVID shifted to this work is even more important now that schools are closed. How are we making sure that kids are getting books? And now we're sort of going outside of the box a little bit and focusing on programs that are also working to build sustainable literacy culture and what that looks like, as well as larger organizations and corporations that literacy is their cause. So Dollar General is a huge founder. Lots of us know the Dollar General stores. They have an enormous, Dollar General Literacy Trust, Literacy Foundation. Next week I'm going to launch one from KPMG, which is a financial firm of 40,000 employees that has embraced literacy. So it's really what's fun for me is to see people outside of schools and people outside of libraries who have embraced literacy as their cause, medical organizations and legal firms and all these places. And it's when all of these people come together from so many different organizations and walks of life to connect about literacy and why it's so important. That's, for me, the exciting components.
Well, it's just wonderful what you're doing. I got to tell you, I want to ask you two questions. Historically, how bad have book deserts been in the past? Are they worse now than ever? But before you answer that, I just want to say schools always have tight budgets, okay? And the first thing to go in a school is the school librarian, okay, for reasons I cannot figure out, but that's besides the point, okay? So that's the first thing to go, all right? If we want schools to work, and if companies want people to grow up to be able to be literate and be able to work for them, it's corporations like you said, KPMG, Dollar General, that have to step up. I just was reading the New York Times. I think Elon Musk's salary is $50 billion a year. Okay, and not to pick on him, he hardly needs me picking on him this week too. Okay, but my point is, okay, we've got to make sure that corporations, and a lot of them do, really get involved and put the money out there. They have the money, just like Wendy's has the beef. Okay, they have the money.
Well,
okay,
in literacy,
so I'm so glad you mentioned those two, and I think that's wonderful. And you can talk to that, but also I want the history of book deserts. Where are we now as compared to before?
I think we're, when I look at the figures are.
And by the way, this is radio, Molly. If you don't know the answer, just make it up.
Well, I was a professor, so I'm, very well used to that. I don't think we have a sense of whether the numbers have changed. I will say what we don't know very much. What there is not, to at least that I'm aware of, any hard data around rural book access. The data that are out there are mostly looking at urban areas, and obviously, getting books to kids in rural areas has its unique set of challenges: transportation, geographic isolation, that sort of thing. So that's an area that I hope when we get some funding, the Coalition for Literacy Equity can start exploring.
Well, actually, I can help you there. Alan Pratt, who's a wonderful guy, runs the National Rural Education Association.
Fabulous.
Okay,
We will definitely
and if you
have
want,
to
I will introduce you to Alan because he would love to talk to you about this. This is the kind of stuff they deal with all the time.
Sure. And your point about all of these people we all pay the price for illiteracy. It is a cause and an agenda that all of us have to care about because of its importance. We know that illiteracy has huge financial repercussions. It has impacts on people's socio-emotional development. If you look at incarceration rates and trace them to illiteracy, if you look at poverty rates, if you look at how much people are spending on health care because of illiteracy, this is something that we all have to care about, and there's no politics involved here. We all have to care about this, and we can all do something about it.
We really can. And Molly, you wrote that wonderful article for us, but I would love to have a column in each issue of the magazine or from the Coalition for Literacy Equity, i.e. you and your gang.
We would love it. We certainly have lots of work that we're excited about and can be adapted to any community.
Right. I would love it. I apologize for the phone ringing. My ringer is supposed to be off, but it wasn't. I apologize
No problem.
for that.
I'm just surprised my dog hasn't barked in the background. So.
What is the dog's name? I have to say this since you brought that up. Dogs are always welcome on Education Talk Radio. Molly, what's the dog's name?
I have a golden doodle named Fozzie, as in the Muppets character, and he is incredibly emotionally needy, which is one of my favorite things about him.
Probably not reading to him enough, Molly.
And so it's probably you should list that to one as one of my complaints.
Have you read White Fang to him? Call of the Wild?
I have.
Come on.
Yep. Well.
Lady and the Tramp. Come on.
Or the Marley book and all of those things.
What's going on here? Yeah, Marley and me. Yeah. Give him a cookie. Tell him Uncle Larry gave him a cookie or her.
I will. He will definitely get some treats after we're done. So for not barking.
He's welcome to bark. Okay, it's okay. It's the only way he can get his points across. All right, so that's not a problem at all. This is great. So the next step, we're going to do more podcasts together. We're going to get you guys writing a column in the magazine, etc. Because what I think you are doing is great, and we want to give you as much voice as we possibly can out there, even beyond your End Book Deserts podcast, which I know is wonderful. I hope people really, really do check that out. Okay, because it's really important stuff what you're doing. Okay,
Thank you.
Where is are you going to go live with your conference this year, or is it going to be virtual?
We're unsure of what the status is. I have planned the conference 100% myself, with essentially no budget and none of the promotion, event planning, all of it.
Well, we'll help you promote it. We will. No charge. We'll help
Last year I sort of said, as much as I adore it and people are so grateful for the opportunity, I sort of finished it last year and was like, oh my God, never again.
Oh my God, that's enough.
So we're definitely at a point of we have to consider what other options are. It's a fabulous event and one that fills a void in all of these organizations. Their work. They don't have a conference like the one that I just went to last week.
I'll introduce you to my wife, Carol, and she's the chief organizer of everything.
Perfect.
Okay?
We need her.
Your problems are solved. Okay,
awesome.
It's done. It's easy. It's done now. Go take a rest, relax, take your daughter to the mall, enjoy it. Okay?
Fabulous. She would probably rather go to the ice hockey rink. She's an ice hockey player, so.
Oh, what position?
She plays center.
Wow.
She is.
I love that.
She's a little powerhouse on a girls' team. That she is good. And she certainly didn't get it from me. So I'm still trying to learn. When I really want to annoy her, I call them. I liked your goal in the first half, and she gets so annoyed and
just be thankful. Just be thankful. Because I know ice time is expensive. That she just didn't decide to become a goalie. Because a goalie outfit costs about $74 million these days.
Well, I have to say she is the goalie for her lacrosse team.
That's okay.
So,
my son is the goalie. That's the goalie on lacrosse. Okay, and as I learned, they're expendable. Okay, but in hockey, they're well covered. Okay, and all that costs a fortune. Okay, so be glad she's a center. Okay, that's great.
Yep. And of all, if I'm not working, I'm driving her to the hockey rink. So it's certainly time consuming, but more power to her to finding something that she loves.
Molly's next book is called The Guide to the 24/7 365 Life. Okay.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. Molly, this has been great. It's always a pleasure to have you here. We're going to do a lot more, and I'm going to introduce you to all these people. Okay?
Well, thank you so much for your time and your kindness.
Oh, are you kidding me? You're always welcome here. It's a pleasure to have you. You're such a go-getter. It's incredible. And good luck with everything you do at Learning Ally, my good friends, okay? We're your VP of Academic Content. Okay, that's the kind of powerhouse company that is. Molly, thanks a million.
Well, all the best to you for the holidays.
Oh, thank you, and you too. Happy turkey.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, bye. Okay, everybody, that's Molly Ness, Dr. Molly Ness, and she's a dynamo. What can I tell you? Obviously. Okay. Wow. And she is cool. I don't care what her daughter said. She is cool. All right, we're going to archive the show over at ace-ed.org. The magazine is over there. Molly's article is in it. She just won one of our awards on equity, pre-K-12. Again, I have nothing to do with who gets the awards. Okay. They wisely kept me out of that loop. All right, even though it's my company. No, I'm not involved. Okay, so she got that award, and just check out everything we do. It's all over there at astash.org. My name's Larry Jacobs. This is Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.